Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. If you watch these weekly videos, then I suspect that you work in some aspect or facet of safety. Now that may be production, it may not be safety specifically, but either way, you're some kind of a safety champion. Now, I want to say all of us probably realize that based on the OSHA General Duty Clause, an employer must provide a safe and healthful work environment for its employees. That's no secret. That's no surprise. But what I want to talk about this week, because we're coming up on the end of the year, is employee training. Now, training our employees plays very heavily into that, providing a safe work environment for our employees. And there are a lot of different ways to look at training. Now, I want to address it from a couple different perspectives. First, what does OSHA say? And secondly, as an employer, and we're a third-party safety company, but why do we require that our employees go through training? Because some of you out there may wonder why we're assigning training on a regular basis. So let's kind of address that. The first thing I'd say is if you haven't downloaded it, Google OSHA 2254, which is the training requirements and the OSHA standards. Now, I'll tell you, this is a 270-page PDF document, but it kind of outlines all the responsibilities that an employer has around training. Now, I'd say that, you can kind of look at training a number of different ways. When we're talking to potential employees and we're collecting resumes and training records, we're obviously logging and creating a library of that training. But as an employer, we do have the responsibility to provide the same training that any other employer would. So basically a safety orientation where you outline any of the hazards your employees may encounter on the job. For us, driving's a big one. Obviously, all employers have to provide bloodborne pathogen, HAZCOM training, lots of different topics. And the nice thing about OSHA 2254 is it kind of highlights and outlines employer responsibilities across every industry. But when we look at training in general, how portable is training? Certain things like an OSHA 30-hour course, an OSHA 10-hour course, maybe a class on accident investigation. I think a lot of those things are very portable, but at the same time, there may also be timeline questions. So for example, we hire somebody who has an OSHA 30-hour card from 2002. Is that recent enough that it would be considered valid and applicable? And the question is maybe. Now, I know if you look at United States Army Corps of Engineers work, they would like to see that OSHA 30-hour card be within the last 3 years. And when I say would like to, I mean require. So those are some things that we have to consider when we look at training. And right now is probably a really good time to kind of chart out the training that you require your employees to go through, and then identify what refresher training on an annual, biannual, every 3-year basis that you want your employees to go through. And if you don't have a matrix of some kind, create that matrix, whether it's a learning management system, it's an old school Excel spreadsheet, but make sure you're documenting that training and ensuring that the employees are taking the training so you're maintaining that documentation. I know that we always recommend that our field safety managers and project safety advisors, when they're working for an owner or a general contractor, take a look at the training records of the other contractors on site, making sure that they're actually providing this training for their employees. Because again, as the employer, we are responsible for providing that training, even if they've gotten the same training 100 times before at 100 other employers. So that's one key piece. The second piece is, why do we as an employer assign that training? And I think I already answered the question before, but it's because we have to show that we're providing training for our employees. So for us, it might be HR topics like ethics in the workplace, violence in the workplace, anti-harassment. It might be defensive driving, distracted driving training. It could be HAZCOM, fall protection, whatever the hazards might be. We're going to assign a new hire suite of training, and then we're going to have an annual refresher, where we provide 2 or 3 different training courses. And in our case, because we're so remote, everything is done through an online learning management system. But as an employer, again, we're required to make sure our employees are trained. And the only way we can verify that is if we do it ourselves. So if there's ever a question why let's just say a CSP level safety professional or a certified industrial hygienist is being assigned HAZCOM training, it's because OSHA says we as the employer have to do it. So hopefully that helps. And again, maybe a good reminder as we're heading into November now, to take a look at your training program, identify what's working, what's not, what you're requiring, what a refresher program looks like, and get it all on paper and get it working. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you next Wednesday.